police to find a way of filling the gap between the public and police.
Everywhere, the whole public, area by area, must be told where to ring if there is any problem. And the telephone should not be personal telephones in people's pockets. Should be the counter of the police station should have a phone which is accessible 24 hours a day. So that's very crucial. Public to the police station, not to the DPC, not to the police officer on duty. Then the police officer on duty, the next most important thing is the quick response. Quick response. At the police station, there should be a group standby, ready, armed.
This has been answered in affirmative, as plans are underway to integrate private CCTV cameras onto the National Control Center.
Our aim there is to share information with the private developers and private installers so that we get a comprehensive information. Of course, that requires having consultations with the private stakeholders, having what information we can get and what we cannot get, and then also trying to see whether we can reduce the costs of importing these, because now they've become a security target.
This newly constructed CCTV command center is an addition to a similar control center that was launched in October 2018 at Natete Police Station. With these in place and more phases yet to come, it is imperative that Ugandans brace for a crime-free country for socio-economic progress. Henry Okurut, UBC.
Now, those are issues to do with tightening security within the country. Now, moving over to the Africa-China Development Conference. Uganda is hosting the Africa-China Poverty Reduction and Development Conference to discuss strategic partnerships aimed at transforming Africa. The development and transformation of Africa's agricultural sector took center stage as delegates maintained that agriculture should remain high on Africa's agenda to fight poverty, hunger, and steer economic growth. The 2019 FOCA conference was officially launched Thursday today by President Yoweri Museveni Kaguta at Speak Resort Munyanya. Let's hear more.
Museveni has opened the two-day China-Africa Poverty Reduction and Development Conference being held in Kampala. The partnership between China and Africa aims at redefining the development agenda for Africa through strategic collaboration. While opening the conference, President Museveni highlighted the key bottlenecks to Africa's development, ranging from underdeveloped agriculture sector to export of unprocessed agricultural products. Mr. Museveni stressed the need for Africa to make strategic investments in key four areas of agriculture, industry, information and communication technology, and services.
That these sectors are not integrated, they are not linked. You find African countries producing cotton, but the cotton is not linked with the industries in that country. The cotton is being exported as raw cotton. And this is where poverty in Africa has been a problem. Why? Cotton has got about 7 or so job levels and money levels. When you grow cotton in the garden and you harvest it, you create a job for yourself, and when you take it to sell it, you get some money. So the grower of the cotton gets money. When it is taken to a ginnery, there's something they call a ginnery, where the machines, small factories which remove seeds, that cotton fiber has got seeds in it. When you take it to a ginnery, the ginning machines remove the seeds. And that cotton is called leaned cotton, where seeds have been removed. So there, you create some jobs in the ginnery. People who are running the ginnery have some jobs. And of course, the ginnery runners also get some money.
The Minister for Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Vincent Sempijja, says the Ugandan government is striving to ensure that the export of raw materials is minimized by setting up processing industries.
Let's form a partnership. Let's investigate each other. Let's be transparent among ourselves to know what each one is doing, to criticize and account to ourselves to see whether we are moving on in the right direction.
The Minister for Local Government and Rural Development for Sierra Leone, John Tamba, emphasized the need for African leaders to invest in rural economies as well as infrastructure.
Over 90% of our production comes from small-scale subsistence farmers. For Sierra Leone, as with much of the rest of the continent, future inclusive growth and poverty reduction must be based on the modernization of our agricultural sector.
However, the issue of conflicts was highlighted as one of the major hindrances to Africa's development.
Today we need to talk about development as a means of preventing conflict. In other words, establishing the nexus between peace and development. And for me, I looked at the Ouagadougou Declaration and Plan of Action as one such instrument.
The collaboration between Africa and China is in line with Sustainable Development Goal number 17, which identifies partnerships as key in achieving sustainable development.
The State House Anti-Corruption Unit will be celebrating 1 year of fighting corruption. The President will be joined by the Right Honorable Speaker, His Lordship the Chief Justice, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, other government officials, traditional and civil society leaders. Themed A Corruption-Free Uganda. It starts with me. The walk will start at 8 a.m. from the Constitutional Square to Kololo Airstrip. The Chief Walker, His Excellency General Yoweri Museveni, invites Ugandans passionate about ending corruption now to join him and other government officials in the walk of reaffirmation in the fight against corruption. Let's continue fighting corruption together.
Well, back to the education sector, where we focused on that graduation, where the Vice President Edward Kiwanuka Sekandi said that St. Lawrence University is a product of the NRM government policy of liberalization over higher education aimed at increasing public-private partnerships to enhance synergy that produces high caliber of a human resource. Let's recap on that story.
The Vice President, Edward Kiwanuka Sekandi, has said that St. Lawrence University is a product of the NRM government policy of liberalization of higher education to see increased public-private partnership to enhance a synergy that produces high-caliber human resource. While presiding over the 10th graduation congregation at St. Lawrence University, The Vice President, who doubles as the Chancellor, said that the university emphasizes application of knowledge, which is in response to the market demands and entrepreneurial needs of the country. The Chancellor assured the parents of their graduating students that St. Lawrence University is standing on a solid ground in terms of financial muscle, leadership, academic resource, vision, and mission. The Vice President thanked the management of the university and the teaching staff for their commitment and pragmatism to make St. Lawrence University light the candle and the beacon of academic competitiveness in Uganda and the East African region as a whole. To the graduates, the Vice President reminded them that they are the pride of the institution who are being sent out as all-round products equipped with academic and practical skills.
Be prudent, healthy, and of good behavior and dependent. As our motto inspires, like a candle, for all to sit and praise your Creator and commend St. Lawrence University that groomed you.
The Vice-Chancellor, St. Lawrence University, Dr. Andrew Semwanga, said that the modern library remains a key priority in the capital engagements of the university.
This is our second time for the programs of Masters of Business Administration and Masters of Education Administration and Management. So we have 13 graduates. Well, we thank you very much.
The chairperson, Board of Trustees of St. Lawrence University, Maria Justin Tulina, said that the world evolves around teachers, but expressed dismay about how the teaching profession is regarded as a lower-level profession among the youth, yet is the foundation of nurturing other professionals from engineers to doctors.
The education is the behavior that you're going to portray at your workplace, that you're going to portray in this competitive world. Dear brothers and sisters in the brother, ensure that your degree doesn't just rot away as a paper, but be competitive. You know when you go and you get jobs, you don't take that job for granted.
600 students from 11 countries were conferred upon degrees and awarded certificates this morning. The best male student was Katumba Charles of Bachelor of Science in Public Health with a CGPA of 4.92 from 5, while the female was Nzabake Shamila with a CGPA of 4.79 out of 5 for Bachelor of Arts in Public Administration and Management, who both received a cash prize of 500,000 shillings from the Chancellor of the University. Reporting for UBC TV News, Stephen Kanakulia Sempa.
Now, all the way from the education sector into the Ethiopian Parliament, the Speaker of the Ethiopian House of the People's Representative, Honorable Tegese Chafo, has commended Uganda's efforts towards reviving peace in Somalia under the AMISOM mission. He says Ethiopia and Uganda's continued engagements will not only contribute to strengthening peace and stability, but further promote development in the sectors of energy, tourism and transport. While speaking to the press in Kampala, Tegese believed that consistent regional economic integrations can lay ground for Africa to solve its own problems. Let's hear more.
We have very good common agendas to work together, and we know that the commitment of His Excellency the President is very strong. Our leaders are working closely together, and I know that the crew members of Ugandan Airlines, they are on training now in Addis Ababa, in our aviation academy. About 26 crew members are on training there in Addis Ababa. So we are cooperating to establish and to transfer the culture and the system to Ugandan Airlines. So that is one of the areas of cooperation between the government of Uganda and the people of our government of Ethiopia. So revenue collection and the widening of the tax base is very important to finance our projects. Then we finance, if we finance our projects, if we start financing our projects, we get independent. And we don't depend upon the foreign finances. So the business-to-business relationship is very important. The economic integration is very important. For instance, if the businessmen in Uganda, if they go to Ethiopia and see the opportunities there, and the Ethiopian businessmen, if they come here, Uganda, and see the opportunity here, we have a lot of opportunities to work together.
Now, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has expressed desire to increase support to Uganda's education sector. This was revealed in a meeting between the First Lady, also Minister for Education and Sports, Mrs. Janet Museveni, and a delegation from Saudi Arabia at State House, Nakasero. Mrs. Museveni thanked the Saudi government for funding projects that have enabled expansion of technical and vocational education and training. She called for a project targeting capacity building for quality improvement of both in-service and pre-service technical and vocational education instructors. Other areas of potential cooperation, she said, could be in teaching, education for quality improvement, plus infrastructure and staff development for some new universities. The Saudi Arabia officials, led by His Excellency Ambassador Hatem Abdelaziz Odres, highlighted the desired areas of cooperation that include, among others, scientific and education relations between education institutions, exchange of expertise between education institutions, and at the same time universities plus scientific research centers, encouraging organizations of scientific cultural weeks and days and scientific clubs in education institutions in both countries. Now over to Parliament. A select task force of Parliament's Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises has handed 2 people to the CID for further interrogation of how they acquired contested properties belonging to a departed Asian in Mbale region. Let's hear more.
The select task force of the Parliament's Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises (COSASE) continues its probe into the illegal acquisition, possession and sale of properties belonging to the departed Asians in different parts of the country. Thursday, the Commission handed 2 people to Police CID for further interrogation over how they acquired the contested properties.
Affirm that the evidence I shall give touching the matter before this committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Among those handed over to the police detectives is Counsel Dagira Suza, who was appointed to become an agent of the departed Asian Property Custodians Board in Mbale region. Dagira was responsible for properties in areas like Majanji, Busia, Bududa, Mbale, Budaka, Kibuku, and Palisa.
Were you still an agent of the custodian board, yes or no?
Okay, let me say I was, because it was an open letter. They didn't say you are going to act for this period.
May the report come.
In his submission to the committee under oath, Counsel Dagira, who took over as an agent in 1994 from a Wantito Pendi, said his role was to collect rent on behalf of the board and would be paid 10% of the total monthly collections.
And there were other people who would also come and instruct me.
Dagira, who could not trace his appointment letter and his roles as per the appointment, was later handed over to the CID for further interrogation. Also handed over to the CID was Mr. Wabia John, who told the committee that he had just returned from South Sudan and did not have any documentation pertaining to his acquired properties he allegedly bought from the custodian board. The task force continues Friday, scrutinizing ownership of more than 600 departed Asians' properties in Mbale. Bernard Higa, Parliament.
Now over to the Electoral Commission. It has flagged off various teams to sensitize public about the ongoing mass update of the National Voters Register. Justice Simon Biabakama, Chairman, Electoral Commission, used this occasion to urge the public to massively participate in the exercise in order to avoid regrets at the last moment of choosing their leaders.
The teams dispatched are charged with reaching 135 districts of Uganda with the sole responsibility of mobilizing the public about their role in deciding their leaders by participating in the process of updating the National Voters Register.
Have said it is your right under the Constitution. It is your right as a citizen to participate in an electoral process, either as a voter or as a candidate. But now, if you say, I am not, it is your choice. But we are encouraging Ugandans, do not blame anyone but yourself when you start complaining or grumbling that I did not want this leader to come into office. You should go and express that at the polling station. So you start now.
Justice Biabakama advises those without national IDs, especially students, to present their parents' national identifications for verification and registration.
The important thing that is important, what is very critical during this update, are you a citizen? Are you 18 years and above? So if you can furnish evidence that you're a citizen, you are 18 years and above, for example, you furnish a birth certificate, you furnish the details of your parents, particulars of your parents, the LOC chairperson confirms that yes, indeed, these are the parents of this child, we know him, he comes from this family, you bring this evidence to the update police station, I believe you'll be registered.
Justice Biabakama also shed light on government's attempt to increase the number of constituencies.
What does that mean? Because as you know, we have already carried out demarcation of electoral areas, the organization of polling stations. So we shall have to determine what does that imply in terms of what we have already done and in terms of our program and in the budgeting terms. Because you know, every electoral exercise is costly. Back on the ground, to organize electoral areas in the context of the newly created constituencies, that will have a cost factor.
He warned those extorting money from the public in the process of updating voters' national register.
We do not want to make it very difficult for Ugandans, because exercise one's right is supposed to be free of charge. It should not be at an unnecessary cost of pain or inconvenience. And therefore, all these activities that are taking place, whether you are going to be registered as a fresh voter or you want to transfer a voting location, you are not paying any coin. And if there is no one charging any money for any activity, let us know. We shall take that person to the courts of law.
The voters register update exercise started on 21st of this month and is expected to end on 11th of December 2019. The outcome of the exercise will determine the number of people to participate in 2021 general elections. Abdul Nasir Rubama for UBC News.
In a related story, the chairperson NRM Electoral Commission, Dr. Tango Doi, is appealing to party members to embrace the ongoing nationwide voters update exercise by the Independent Electoral Commission so that they are not left out in the 2021 general elections. Odoi reveals that NRM is looking at mobilizing over 10 million registered voters ahead of the elections. Let's hear more.
Please go and carry on the message.
Last week, the Electoral Commission embarked on a nationwide voter register update exercise where voters are expected to verify, correct particulars, and transfer polling stations. This exercise, which is expected to end on 11th December this year, will be conducted in accordance with Article 6.1, Section 1, Clause E of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, as amended, and Sections 18 and 19 of the Electoral Commission Act, Cap 140.
Please, Lana, if you got registered in 2017, you have not got your national ID or your NIN number, do not say, now this is not for me.
In line of this, the NRM Electoral Commission chairperson, Dr. Tango Doi, is encouraging his party members to grab this opportunity if they are to claim victory in 2021 general elections at all levels.
This is a very important exercise. And NRM people, we want to vote and keep our president in power, want to keep government of NRM in power, you must pay special attention to this exercise. The exercise may not have an extension. 21st November to 11th December is a long period for all of us to follow up the program of the National Electoral Commission. I therefore want to call upon all NRM followers that this exercise starts from 8 to 6 every day.
Dr. Doi says his party is targeting over 10 million voters from the 20 million expected to participate in the 2021 general elections.
So if we have a register of say 20 million and we have 12 million and we mobilize 10 million to vote, we shall be home and dry. I want to tease opposition parties. Take us on directly. Take us on using the proper channels. Mobilize your members to go to the register. We also mobilize our members. Mobilize your members to go to make sure the tribunal does not delete them. We also mobilize ours. Let's meet on the D-Day of election. And we shall see how Museveni scores. And you then keep quiet and go home.
Odoi, however, faults a cross-section of opposition members who have decided to divert Ugandans by preaching false gospel against the exercise.
This is not an NRM project. This is National Electoral Commission project. NRM, we are simply urging our followers, fraternity of the party, to be alive to the fact that they must participate. There are those planning chaos in some parts of Uganda. I want to warn you. If you want chaos, the police will handle you.
During this general update exercise, the Electoral Commission will also register eligible Ugandan citizens over 18 years and above who are not yet registered as voters. I'm Robert Onyango for UBC News, Kampala.
Well, that does bring us to the end of our first segment. We're going to take a short break, but do not go away. We'll return with more in News Tonight.
This weekend on UBC.
My name is Nkayo Hannington, winner of the NSSF Friends with Benefits Season 2.
Congratulations, Hannington!
I used my winnings to boost my agricultural production and give a chance to the people in my community to work.
So join us this year for the third season of the NSSF Friends with Benefits, as 16 Ugandans share inspirational stories on how they use their NSSF benefits to do life-changing things. So tune in every Sunday with your host, Gaetano, and I, and special new host, Uncle D. It's another incredible display. It's the NSSF Friends with Benefits.
And that's not all. You have the power to vote for your favorite stories to win up to 55 million shillings, just like Huntington. This show is brought to you by
NSSF, a better life.
Kickstart your holiday in style and be part of the grand family party organized by your very own Etzeza Mutokana, a known children entertainer and mother. It will be fun, it will be exciting, it will be memorable with lots of prizes to be won. It's going to be the best of the children's end of year party on the 1st of December 2019 in the UBC Gardens, hosted by Etzeza Mutokana. Lots of entertainment, including live performances from Uganda's finest, Fresh Kid, Pastor Wilson Bugembe, Kapiripiti.
Yagoba tegezange naku z'omwezi nga lumu December tugenda beera ku UBC Gardens abato mujje tugalewo omwaka.
Ghetto Kids.
We are the Judas Ghetto Kids. Yes, on the 1st December tugenda beera ku UBC end of year party. Yeah. Let's all be there. You know how we do it. All the kids come have a good time. Let's have a good time. You know how we do it. How we do Straight up from the. You know what I'm talking about. You know.
Wembley, Yo-Yo, Uganda's best dance group, and comedians like Singer Sebanga and many others. Gets open at 7 a.m. Entrance 10K only and parents free. Come unwind, eat, dance, sing, enjoy the bouncing castle, motor rides, camel rides, ice cream, quiz, swimming, sack races, tug of war, face painting, nyama choma, and candle floss. This party is organized by UTB, UWEC, Golilos, Jubilee Insurance, Samona, Kusasila Cream, Tripai Overseas Agency, Geisha, and UBC Inspiring Uganda.
weekend on UBC.
Now, on this show, we give you access to people who are doing magnificent things. And today, I bring to you a special gentleman. People who are into entrepreneurship.
This week, I caught up with Mr. Yesigye Brian, owner of Bravo Shoes, an export and import Ugandan company that deals in sale and production of go back to school shoes.
Once you get to 30 years, 30, 40, you must mind the kind of shoes you're wearing. But in this country, people do not know.
Really? Yes, teach me. Yes. Teach them. How does footwear have to do with
Of course, there's a lot of compression. You know, all your nerves are ending down on your feet. People do not know that. And once you find that your system, the neural system, is not operating very well, definitely the first challenges will come down. So that's why you see the people with diabetes, majority of them are losing their feet.
Brought to you by
Hammam Spa and Salon is located at Fairway Hotel. For bookings, contact us on 0414-671-775 or 0701-323-212. Hammam Spa and Salon, drift to serenity.
Kuchisawe chana chivubo bulu primary school janguwe kwate chifocho amangu ddala mwana otunile byamaguzi ibyo atono mugatego gw'ekibuga Kampala ng'ennaku z'omwezi 19 Desemba okutuusa nga 23 Desemba guwagiddwa UBC TV, Pepsi Cola n'abanguka mbyefuna ku Star TV emunyenye y'eggwanga.
Did you know that 1,000 Ugandans get HIV every week? Did you know that each week 500 people die of AIDS in Uganda? HIV is still with us. In 2017, President Museveni launched the Fast Track initiative to end AIDS in Uganda by 2030. We must stop HIV. The best way for young people to avoid HIV is to abstain from sex.
Why you had to have sex? At 16, at 18, at 20, and then you die, or you start having problems, which you may live with all your life. Why don't you wait, hold on, you study, finish your degree, and then you look for a partner at the right time.
Protect yourself. Abstain from sex until you are ready.
We are going to pass off. The God who opens doors is going to open doors for you. Whatever you are tormented on stops here.
Welcome back. News Tonight continues. Now, 30 Rwandese, including 2 juveniles, girl and boy, have been deported to their respective country after being found guilty of illegal stay in Uganda. The deported Rwandese were rounded from various areas in Kisoro municipality. Samuel Mwenje, Kisoro District State Attorney, told court that the deported Rwandese have been staying in Uganda and operating their businesses illegally, which contradicts the immigration laws of the country. Some of them defended themselves that they had nowhere to renew their documents since they expired at the time Rwanda closed her borders with Uganda. Over 300 people were arrested from bars, streets and hotels, but after thorough screening, only 30 were found guilty. Those arrested included 3 from Tanzania, 3 from DR Congo, and 1 from Kenya. In another story, Lusenke village in Busana sub-county in Kayunga district is experiencing bad moments of flooding following constant heavy rains. The floods have ravaged the entire village, leaving many residents homeless since some shelters were brought down by the raging waters. Let's hear more in this report.
After a number of days of non-stop rains, floods have engulfed Lusenke village in Kayunga district. This forced residents out of their homes as some of their shelters have already been brought down. It's a dire situation as some say they sleep on top of anthills, whereas others claim they climb trees for shelter. The residents here are fleeing the village alongside their domestic animals and other belongings to neighboring villages for safety.
We are sleeping hungry under the trees. Our children we are taking on the ills place. Don't hit. We are staying with the hunger plus the children.
Experiencing floods in our area and we have nowhere to stay.
This latest flooding is cause for worry as crops and other foodstuffs have also been destroyed, thereby threatening hunger in the area. The area councillor and Kayunga district speaker Boniso Saleh expressed worry that the floods may eventually affect the whole district if the rains continue pounding.
The families affected, the houses have been brought down, livelihood is becoming a challenge, all the foods, crops which we have grown.
He appeals to government to intervene with relief supplies before the current situation deteriorates. Some buildings are already down and road networks leading to the very village have been cut off by the floods.
The roads are being cut off. Even the road from Wampologoma to Namusala, then to Lusenge Farm has been cut off.
Shedet Nasaku and David Chigongo, UBC.
Now, the Ministry of Health and different development partners championing efforts to improve service delivery across the country has entered partnerships with Novartis with the aim of increasing access to quality and affordable treatment for non-communicable diseases. While officiating at the launch of the program codename Novartis Access Program, the head of non-communicable diseases at the ministry, Dr. Gerald Mutunji, expressed optimism before he sounded a call for integration of all sector players for impactful service delivery.
Of engagement, Novartis has come into partnership with Ministry of Health, not-for-profit and religious-based organizations to provide products, mainly medicines for cardiovascular diseases, type 2 diabetes, respiratory illness and breast cancer at affordable prices. Dr. Nathan Mulure, the ESC cluster head of Novartis, justifies the decision to track this journey, saying it is the only assured way of ensuring its supply chain management system for the various medicines.
It's not a donation program. It's not a charity. It's a business. It's a social business looking at very low margins and high volumes of the drugs.
With this intervention, government has earmarked plans to include medicines for cardiovascular diseases and diabetes, among others, on the list of essential medicines, loosely translating to improved accessibility.
Because now the cost has gone down by this partnership, because when we are putting drugs on the essential drugs list, we also consider cost. We see how much we have and how much we can buy. Sometimes we may not have the best because of the cost, but now the best drugs
have been subsidized, so they will be included.
World Health Organization statistics of 2016 revealed that about 33% of all deaths in Uganda were due to non-communicable diseases. However, Ministry of Health says these statistics have since changed, unfortunately with a rising curve.
That number that has NCDs may not know that they have, and that's 80%. And there is no way you can access care unless you are screened.
Our partners are going to support us, do outreaches, mainly for screening, because once we screen you and we find that you have these NCDs, then we can link you to our health facilities.
Novartis Social Business is a subsidiary of Novartis Global Health and Corporate Responsibility of ensuring successful implementation of Novartis Access initiatives in low to middle income countries. Shedat Nasaku for UBC.
Now, State Minister for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, has requested for the monitoring cameras in government offices and a reduction on taxes on particular products used by ladies in business in order to help them realize their business potential. Ms. Mutuzo was launching the annual report on how people utilize their time in doing productive work at Imperial Hotel in Kampala.
According to the annual survey report released by Uganda Bureau of Statistics in 144 districts on how Ugandans utilize their time, it indicates that most women spend a lot of their time on unproductive work, including housework, looking after children and elderly people, among others.
Activities which are not paid, cooking for the family, fetching water, taking care of children, caring for the elderly. It can only be further analysis which will really bring out how this can be related to, for instance, how much money is lost in terms of allocating your time for activities which are not productive.
The report also indicates that from 24 hours in a day, Ugandans waste 10 hours while sleeping other than doing productive work, which affects the economy of the country. The UBOS Executive Director, Dr. Mukiza Chris Ndatira, says they are yet to find out the root cause of this problem.
It's our culture that we don't concentrate on work. Any other person may come to office and just read papers or put a hanger there, move to another office, so that's not work. And this study, the findings are going to give us to go deeper to know why people do those things. The theory is mindset, maybe people are not motivated.
State Minister for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, reiterated the need for reductions on taxes towards products used by women in their business to permit them engage in business like their male counterparts.
For Uganda, whose more than half of the total population is women, we should have realized much earlier that women really count and overcount.
Among the people present was Cecily Mukarubaga, the Deputy Country Representative UN Women. She believes the report is timely and it will help in planning for women so that they can realize their potential in doing productive work.
I call on you, the government of Uganda, with the support of all partners, to continue supporting Uganda to maintain the leadership position in the production and use of gender statistics within the region.
Namamonde Deborah compiled this report.
As we cross over to the health sector, sector players in Uganda's performing industry have asked government to support them in the fight against HIV. The call comes as the country prepares to mark the World AIDS Day this December 1st, 2019. Let's hear more.
One cannot discuss HIV/AIDS in Uganda without considering the performing arts industry. HIV/AIDS gained notoriety in Uganda after a popular musician, the late Phile Bongole Lutaya, publicly announced his HIV positive status. His announcement did not stop the industry from rising, as Bongole Lutaya's music recordings inspired many to join the industry. From 1960s to date, millions of Ugandans reap big from the performing arts industry. Currently, most urban areas have bars and nightclubs at every corner, which hosts different performers on a weekly basis. The fame, lifestyle and controversial actions of the famous people in Uganda attract public attention, with many celebrities living in fear of losing their audience. This fear accounts for stigmatization and has seen many artists in Uganda living in denial of HIV/AIDS. This has also cost lives to several of them.
Uganda has about 450 artists with HIV. We don't have sensitization. We don't. Actually, we even have a problem, another problem which is also cropping up. It's called HIV drug resistance. HIV drug resistance is a problem whereby the medications you are taking, you reach a point and they fail to work. And when they fail to work, you become infectious again.
So they're telling people, don't work with him. That one is dying the next day. That guy is HIV positive. He's not going to live for long. I'm still around. And I don't know, they could go before me.
Moses Nsubuga, alternatively known as Supercharger, a recording artist, has lived with HIV/AIDS for 25 years. Nsubuga recounts his experience of how living in denial almost took his life at an early age.
And when we get the information, we fear to get the services because of issues like stigma. When I go to the hospital and get the medications, then people will ask me, those medications are for HIV, and they will begin running away from you. So we have a lot of issues with Uganda. And thank God, the government of Uganda is not sleeping, is doing its best to see that we end HIV.
The practices and exposure related to the business of creative arts, including alcoholism, drug abuse, and prostitution, continuously contribute to new infections of HIV/AIDS. More revelers run out of control, which also witness unprotected extramarital activities.
Songo omuntu omwesigwa ne bootewaana abantu bakweyuna naye nze ontamye kweraga ate nze n'ovumirira nakola kindiwe kati n'obwavu bugenda kunzita olaba kasitoma obutakyanneesiga okunywa n'okutamira tekuli mu bivulu byaffe kokka amabaala gye gali bonnaku abantu banywa era batamiira ne wano tulina okulabawo abatamidde okitegedde ne mu kkubo ne mu takisi mu banyweramu omwenge so okutamira tekuli mu bivulu byokka kuli everywhere. Obwenzi bubeera ku muntu ng'omuntu ate era n'omuntu okufuna obulwadde tekyetaagisa kumala kwagala bakazi 40 kayinza okuba akakazi kamu olusingana katono kaddugavu tekyetaagisa kumala funa munene.
The number of artists living with HIV in Uganda is still mysterious, as most players are living in denial. The question is, who is to be blamed?
I mean, the blame goes back to the government. Because if I'm the government, and I know that the pubs and the nightclubs, the hotels, the artists, the singers, the comedians, those are the people who act together and their job fuels up HIV infection. I will tax them first. After taxing them, I will get part of the taxes and take it back to them and tell them, now, look here, educate these people who come in your bars, educate people who come in your concerts, tell them about HIV/AIDS. But that's not happening in the country.
I believe the parents have underscored when it comes to them taking up their responsibility of responsible parenthood. They are not giving their kids enough time, enough guidance, because you realize that in their times when they were growing up, there was no social media. There were no digital platforms like TVs, Facebook, and what have you. Now, you do find that with the availability of such platforms, they are, in my opinion, they are a temptation. They are a temptation.
To sustain the business, the players in the industry need to dance to the tunes of the audience by creating messages that fit their respective followers. This, according to the musicians we interacted with, has challenged them in sensitizing the public in the control of new HIV/AIDS infections in Uganda.
Lwakuba ekyenjawulo ekiriwo nti ennaku zino omuzika abantu baagala nnyo ogudigida okusinga message. Naye kye nandigambye abantu oba abalabi ba TV nti gwe ng'omwami oba omukyala wekumire nnyo ku mwagalwawo.
When you are going for sex, what I can tell you guys, buy a condom, use a condom, because we don't know the people we sleep with. Some people are already sick. It's not bad to be sick. It's not their fault, but we really don't want to tap into that world they're in.
The fact that performing artists always look for hit messages that will add credit to their revenue. Few popular artists who shared their positive status publicly are ready to give a hand in preventing new infections.
Radio DJ, film actors, comedians with HIV. And majority of these people approach me. But like I told you, I'm not supposed to mention their name. It's not allowed. But I encourage as many of them to come and approach me so that I can direct them to where they can get proper treatment. That's the most important thing.
But government per se is not yet with us. Yet this is where they need us most, because they need the population.
In Uganda, an estimate of 1,400,000 people currently lives with HIV, with an average prevalence of 6.2% of adults. Dr. Dan Byamukama, the head of HIV prevention at Uganda AIDS Commission, reveals that the number of new infections is declining, with more infected people responding to the programs of ending HIV/AIDS in Uganda.
Most of them will remind you, without a condom, no. Young girl, go away. So we see it's a general practice, though there are a few bad stories of an HIV positive person deliberately transmitting HIV, but most of them will engage in responsible behavior, and this we find it in survey, because they care for others, and we are happy with the way the HIV positive in Uganda are taking up their responsibility of making sure there's no more HIV transmission to other people.
About 22 million people are living with HIV in Africa, 2/3 of the world's aggrieved, according to the United Nations. 2 million people died of AIDS 2 years ago, and 3/4 of the deaths were in Africa. Uganda is to join the rest of the world to celebrate 2019 World AIDS Day in Kayunga district under the theme, engaging the young people to champion the end of HIV new infections.
Young people continue to be our main focus because they comprise majority of Ugandan population. Young people between the age of 15 to 24 are greatly affected, contributing to 34% of new infections.
Daniel Mugoya, reporting for UBC.
Quickly into business, East African business and political leaders have converged in Arusha, Tanzania for the East African Business and Investment Summit, with the meeting coinciding with the East African Community 20 years anniversary. Glaring challenges are evident and urgent strategies are required for the region to achieve its intended integration goal. Dennis Sigar has more.
Inter-regional trade currently stands at 12%. It is dismal and worrying considering the fact that the African continent is making strides towards achieving the continental free trade area. The East African Business and Investment Summit ongoing in Arusha, Tanzania, is laying strategies geared at increasing inter-regional trade to at least 40%.
We want to take politics out of this. We want to have a fair and equitable place for people to do business. We want to make it fair, we want to make it transparent, and take away fear, take away issues that people call political that they never want to talk about, and put them on the table. We have to have hard, frank discussions about what are these challenges. If there are countries that are scared of other countries, let's deal with it. Let's talk about how to make it fair.
According to the Tanzanian Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation Minister, Professor Paramagamba Kabudi, there is need for commitment from partner states and a private sector that is united.
The private sector is selfish. You should say people-centered, and the private, yes. because you are driving towards the welfare of the East Africans. So as it was in the past, it is also now. Our community must be private sector driven, but a community, a people-centered community. If we lose that focus of people-centered community, this community won't be sustainable.
His sentiments are re-echoed by Chirunda Chivejinja, the third Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of East African Affairs.
If we don't have a social content, then we are likely to hit the mistakes which were committed earlier. But now, let's look at each other, let's have problems, and know that integration is not a choice or a race or an event, but a process.
As the EAC public and private sector players meet in Arusha to discuss business and mark 20 years of EAC existence, some glaring challenges are evident. These are some of the sad stories that the East African business community has to endure. Where I'm standing right now is Mama Bella Wine Stall. She was expecting to have her products here by Monday or Sunday. Unfortunately, her products are yet to arrive.
I'm so shocked that I'm now in an empty store which I've paid for. I'm staying in a very expensive hotel. I'm not among those who are sponsored. When the truck left Uganda, I've been crying to them. Until they intervene, it leaves one border to another. Now since morning it has been at this Tanzanian border. Now you can imagine.
She's coming here to Arusha to show that the integration of this community in East Africa is private sector led. That there are no non-tariff barriers, or that there is work being done to remove those non-tariff barriers. Clearly, as you can see from my empty stall, that work is simply not enough.
The Ugandan entrepreneur is disappointed and pessimistic about the future of the integration.
Who doesn't know better in East Africa to hold the vehicle there? I'm very disappointed. Now I don't need to continue with this summit. Now I'm just packing my things and going back.
The participants concur that all barriers that impede regional trade should be addressed urgently to achieve the EAC integration agenda. Dennis Igoa for UBC News in Arusha, Tanzania.
And in sports, the Chess Parent and Guardians Association tournament final is due next week with about 164 youngsters expected at Sheraton Hotel. And then moving over to volleyball, Nkumba University Volleyball Club has completed a stellar session during which it registered a 100% success return. The team, bank-rolled by KCB Bank, took part in this team. And of course, over to basketball. Uganda Christian University basketball teams left the MTN Arena smiling following tremendous performances by both gender teams in Game 1 of the Basketball League playoff final. Women's team needed the playoff to secure a 71-69 victory over reigning champions, that is JKL Lady Dolphins. That had leveled the game at 69 all. And of course, they failed to capitalize when Peace Nakirija missed her 2-point attempt. And then lastly, as we end our bulletin, the National Rugby League returns this Friday with something special. Now, for the first time, league games are to be played under floodlights. The rivalry between the two on-form clubs, Betway Corps and Hema Cement Heathens, is to be renewed. Both teams agree to have a new experience playing at night. However, they promised to put up a tight show. Well, that does bring us to the end of News Tonight. My name is Patricia Lukoma. Mugalo Mohammed has been with us on sign language. From the entire team, it's a good night, but we say happy festive season.